I walked to the store and I bought everything I could buy with that $5 and I flipped that 5 into 60 that very day and turned that into 600 by the end of the week. And I have been flipping that same money for the last 17 years. And what I realized is I could be sick or I could be tired, but I couldn't be both. What I was telling you is I was waiting to get enough equipment. I was waiting to have all of the things in place. And the man came and said, stop waiting. All you have is all you need to start today. So for that 30-something that's believing that it's too late for them and they've been left behind, it's like, what do I have to give? And the rest of the world is making it and I'm not. I want them to be encouraged to know that it is not too late for them. And I'm also the same face that is the picture of a woman who dug herself out of debt and drowning in brokenness and despair to be sitting here today to tell you that you can also do it. Hello, this is Mignon Francois, and you're listening to Dreams and Drive.
Summer's here, and you know staying hydrated should be one of your biggest priorities. That's why smart water is always on my list. As a busy mom and always on the go, I love how easy it is to hold smart water and how it is just the right accessory for my daily outfits. With days in mind that usually involve a lot of overthinking, smart water provides a refreshing change of pace and allows me not to have to think too much. Plus, the taste is great too. Smart water has this pure, crisp taste with added electrolytes, and I love it. Life's full of choices. Smart water is a simple one. Visit drinksmartwater.com to learn more. And today, our guest is Mignon Francois. Mignon is a speaker, entrepreneur, and community leader, and she's also the author of Made from Scratch, Finding Success Without a Recipe. And in her memoir, Mignon shares her story of finding success with no presets in place, mapping a journey that led to the joy that has now become synonymous with her name. After years of drowning in debt and brokenness, Mignon founded the Cupcake Collection in 2008 on the last $5 she had to feed her family and turned it into a legacy with over 5 million cupcakes sold to date. I just love her grassroots story of success, and you know, there's so much that you guys are going to get from learning and listening and just really taking in all the tidbits about her own journey that Mignon's going to share with us today. Us dream drivers need this inspiration and this encouragement because there's going to be days when we feel like, you know, we don't have enough to get started or we don't have enough to keep going. And let me tell you, after listening to this episode, you are going to feel like your fuel tank is full and you got what you need to keep the journey alive. If this is your first time listening, please make sure you're following us on social media. We are Dreams and Drive across the board on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And make sure you join our email newsletter, The Keys, and get weekly email updates delivered right to your inbox. Just go to dreamsanddrive.com/join. That's dreamsanddrive.com/join. All right, let's get into this episode. Hi, Mignon. Welcome to Dreams and Drive. I am so excited to have you on today.
I'm excited to be here with you.
I just love, you know, first of all, I love food. I love cupcakes. So when your publicist sent this over, I was like, yes, this is a match, right? In another lifetime, I would have my own food business myself, but I am a podcaster and not a baker. So
Oh my gosh, would you be baking in another life?
I would be a baker, a regular chef doing regular food, my own restaurant, but who knows? Maybe in life number 2 or wherever life I'm on, whatever.
I believe that cake is my love language. So, you know, I feel you on that.
Yeah. So I think it's really important when we're thinking about where we are today to kind of go back to the beginning, right? Mm-hmm. So Mignon, tell me, who were you as a child? What were those things that were really inspiring the young you?
Ooh, that's so good. As a child, I was shy. I thought I was ugly. I always thought I was going to be famous. I believed that God didn't waste this fabulous name on nobody knowing it. So I had to do my due diligence to make my name great. I was always too afraid to do the things that were on the inside of my head. So I sat back and watched other people do the things that I wanted to be doing because I was too afraid.
Wow. There's something in there that I want to ask you a little bit more about. Is you felt like you were going to be famous, right?
Mhm.
What was that feeling? Was it this feeling of knowing that you were special in some way but didn't really know how that would articulate for you?
Yes, it was really all about my name. My name was so different than everybody else's, and I wanted to change it so much. We often laugh about it because I wanted to be Jody. Because at the time when I was a
That's
teenager,
boring.
Jody Watley was a thing, and I wanted to be Jody. And so I think I wanted to be anything but me. But
Mm,
in the meantime, and especially as I got older, God began to show me that I was different for a reason and that He had made me special. And I started realizing that people were going to be saying my name. And so I began to know that it was going to happen. Not that I was looking for it to happen, right? But just
yeah.
that I knew that it would happen, but I didn't know what for.
Okay. So it's kind of like do you feel like you were coasting through life or you were actively trying to figure out how to make that happen? Talk me through those like young adult, early, early 20s for you.
These are good questions. By the 20s, though, what I'm describing to you is going to be like second grade, third grade, fourth grade. By
Okay.
my 20s, I full on had no self esteem.
Mm,
Uh, by the 20s, I had a full family of 5 and a
okay.
husband. I had my 6th child when I was 27. And I was drowning in debt and brokenness by then. And I had been married. By the time I was 30, I had been married for 10 years.
Can I ask you a question? Just because I'm a mother myself. I have a 2.5-year-old son, right?
Hmm.
And did you see life with having so many children, or was it kind of like that just happened and you kind of just went with it, right? Because
Yeah,
as
I
women,
looked.
it's like we don't always plan and life happens, right?
Yes. I think I am a person. I always say this. I'm a person that flies by the seat of my pants. I have, a first class seat on Fly by the Seat of Your Pants Airlines. So
Okay.
nothing has happened the way that I thought that it was going to go. And I looked back over my high school yearbook. I never thought that I would have any children. I thought I was going to be like the rich auntie.
Mm-hmm.
And none of my siblings have a lot of children, but I'm the one with, 7 of them.
Okay, okay. Now that's so interesting. I
Mhm,
know a lot about like in your story, this is something that you talked about in past interviews, and I'm pretty sure you touch on this in your new book, Made from Scratch. Um,
mhm.
Talk to me about that moment when you're in your early 30s and you realize, like, all right, something's gotta change for me. Actually, you know what? Before I ask you that, what was your dream? Was there something that like you were really working towards that you could see through the horizon while you were raising your children, but you weren't yet sure how you would get there?
Yeah, so when before I even got married, I went to high school. I graduated from high school early. I went to college early. I thought that I was going to be a doctor. I couldn't apply the science to the human body, so I ended up having to change majors. But I had to only change majors because I wasn't ready for the college campus parties, and I got pregnant only 1 year in. So
Okay.
then I needed to do something that was going to be better for me and my baby. But I think I was always thinking about him. And then when there were more, thinking about them. I was never looking for my own dreams to come true. I was always thinking about propelling theirs. I think most of my life, I knew I had a calling upon me, and I was just trying to make a dollar out of 15 cents. And I was just trying to figure out how we were going to do that. By any means necessary would have been fine with me, just as long as we would have been able to do it. So most of my life was supporting my ex-husband's life and the things that he came up with to do. But as a stay-at-home mom, he really wasn't supporting me. And my job as a stay-at-home mom was to take care of the finances and to manage our household. But without much to manage, I had to start looking for something that I could use to get us out of debt and stop us from from drowning in brokenness. I mean, we lived in a house most of the time without electricity on a regular basis and water that I bought from the store to fill up the bathtub so that the baby could go first because he was the cleanest.
Oh man, wow. Did you ever at one point think like, how did I get here? What did I do? Like,
Oh, yes. I know how I got there. I know what I did. I absolutely heard the moment when God told me, do not get married to this person. And I did it anyway because I felt like the invitations have been sent out. People have bought plane tickets. They've already purchased their gifts. And I believe these are things why 19-year-olds probably shouldn't be making decisions like this.
maybe
But
not,
I was
right?
also trying to escape the fact that my older brother had told me, no one's ever going to want to marry you. You have a kid. Nobody wants that. So I needed to be grateful for the fact that somebody was asking me to marry him. This is a lot of lies that I believed in my life, from, an older brother that's naturally just bullying you
Yeah.
to the enemy who was desiring to devour me so that I wouldn't become all of the things that God had said to me.
Okay.
By the way, these are really great questions.
Thank you. No, I told you I try to get to the heart of it, right? Because everyone can go and get the facts of your story, but there's always the little things along this road to what makes us to who we are today. So it's funny because you had mentioned how, you went from being this very confident or very like ambitious, forward-looking child to then this bout of like really struggling with self-esteem. Let's talk about that moment where you got that order from your neighbor. Was it your neighbor, right?
Yeah, well, let me just say, I was never confident as a kid.
Okay.
I never had powerful self-esteem. I went through my whole entire childhood believing I wasn't good enough, believing that I should accept, whatever people did to me or however they mistreated me. I never thought I was good enough. There was always something on the inside of me that was telling me that I wasn't supposed to be in that position. I was always a very smart kid. I was always top of my class and things like that, but my self-esteem did not exist. It wasn't until I was in my 30s, and a very particular incident that happened that allowed me to have self-esteem, but it took me that long to ever figure that part out.
Okay. Thank you for that clarity there because I think it's something that we all can relate to, especially those kids who are smart, right? And it's like that inside knowing. It's like, how do you translate what you know inside to how it shows up in the world? And I know you mentioned like you saw the signs with your ex-husband. Maybe this wasn't what you were supposed to do and you still did it anyway. And not saying that sometimes you have to go through sometimes my mom always told me in a Jamaican accent, those who don't hear, feel, right?
But can you say it to me in a Jamaican accent?
Well, that wasn't a Jamaican accent. I can't do it.
Say it to me in a Jamaican accent.
Those who don't hear. I can't do it. I can't do it. I am horrible.
I love it. I love it when I hear children of, people who speak other languages speak the language like their parents do. It's just like so fulfilling. I love it.
I try. They tell me just to stop. It really is bad. But
I thought it was amazing.
The thing there though is like, with all the bad stuff that happens to us, like sometimes it helps us get to where we need to go. I was telling my sister the other day, she's going through some kind of job changes and feeling like, how did I get here? And I said to her, sometimes things have to happen in order for things to happen. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes,
Right?
I just finished telling my team that this morning. We have prayer together before we open our stores. And what I said to them is nothing just happens. And if all things are working together or in synchronicity for your good, according to the word of God that I'm reading, then that means that no matter what it looks like, it's working for you, not happening to you.
Yeah. Like sometimes you have to, get to the bottom of you have to be in the valley in order to see a mountaintop exist, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So talk to me. I want to get to this moment of when you had to make a decision, risk it, and take a chance on yourself and your future.
It was when my neighbor knocked on the door. I was sitting in the back of the house. I was doing the Dave Ramsey baby steps plan. I had finally pulled out the envelopes and decided to start stuffing cash in them. And because I told you I was a stay-at-home mom and I was trying to manage the money that my husband was bringing, I was having to hide money here and there and save up money over time in order for there to be enough money to make any of the ends meet. And I was putting money in envelopes, what I had, and I only had $5 left. And I hadn't paid anything. I hadn't paid for anything.
Yeah.
And all I had was $5. And I hadn't even fed the family or hadn't budgeted for us to have groceries. I was in the dark because we didn't have electricity. And so I was saving up the gas in the generator in the middle of the day and just living by the light of a window or staying gone from the house all day so that when my children came home, they could have normalcy. And so
Yeah.
when my neighbor knocked on the door asking me to make cupcakes, essentially what she was asking me to do was take the only $5 I had and go to the store and flip it into something. Like, she didn't know that, but that's
Did
the
you
way I
even
saw it.
bake? Were you like, why did she even ask you to make cupcakes? Hey, Dream Drivers, if you're like me, you know the struggle of dealing with a wild child who just won't keep their diaper on. That's why I'm excited to share my favorite Pampers Cruisers 360, the ultimate baby-proof diaper for your little explorer. Pampers Cruisers 360 features a 360-degree stretchy waistband instead of the usual tabs. This unique design helps prevent your baby from removing their diaper, which means no more unexpected messes. And trust me, this is a game changer. One of the best parts, Pampers Cruisers 360 offers up to 100% leak-proof protection with a gap-free fit no matter how your baby moves. It's super easy to remove too. Just rip the sides, roll it up with a disposal tape on the back, and you're good to go. Try Pampers Cruisers 360 with the new Pampers Free and Gentle wipes for healthy baby skin. They're made from 100% plant-based cloth that grips the mess, with Free and Gentle mess meets its match. Add Pampers Cruisers 360 and Free and Gentle wipes to your cart or pick them up at your local grocery or big box store. Say goodbye to messes and hello to more fun with Pampers. Remember, for trusted protection, trust Pampers, the #1 pediatrician recommended brand. This week's episode of Dreams and Drive is brought to you by Smart Water. So this summer, I have a lot of goals, and getting out and staying active is #1. But if you want to be active, you got to stay hydrated, and that's where Smart Water comes in. I love how complimentary Smart Water is to my daily routine. It fits right in my baby bag, it's easy to put in the car bottle holder, and just looks good if I'm holding it in my hand or my daily walks with the kids. When it comes to living my life, there's a lot to overthink. What's for lunch? Who's getting the kids? Who do I need to reach out to for interviews? What's for dinner? But at least I don't have to overthink my water. And look, later today, I know I'm going to have to take that little one out for his daily ATV ride and walk around the block. With this pure, crisp taste and added electrolytes, I know that we'll all stay hydrated for our summer excursions, and the taste will be on point too. Smart Water provides a refreshing change of pace, a moment of clarity with a simple choice of hydrating. And at this stage in my life, that is super important. Life's full of choices. Smart Water is a simple one. Visit drinksmartwater.com to learn more. You'll know real when you get it. It'll say eBay Authenticity Guarantee, and you'll feel it. Maybe it's a head-turning handbag, a watch that says it all, jewelry that makes you look like the gem, sneakers and streetwear so fresh every step feels fly. eBay gets it. So look for the blue check mark next to that thing you love and be confident that every inch, stitch, sole, and logo is checked by experts. With eBay Authenticity Guarantee, you can trust that feeling of real is always in reach. Ensure your next purchase is the real deal. Visit eBay.com for terms.
That is such a great question. I did not know how to bake when I started the business, but I was listening again to Dave Ramsey. He was telling people they could get out of debt by having a bake sale or a garage sale. But we had sold everything we had to get to Nashville. And so here in Nashville, I didn't have anything to have a garage sale with. So I could only do a bake sale. Problem is, I couldn't bake. Well, once I let my daughters know that we were going to bake sale, they at first said they were on board, but without my oldest daughter, who let me soon after know that she was going back home to New Orleans, my youngest daughter is not really interested in it. So mommy, who feels like she's told the whole entire world that she's going to open a bakery, has to keep her word because I'm a woman of my word and I do what I say I'm going to do. And that's why I usually don't talk about what I'm going to do, because I don't want people to hold me accountable for those things. But in this process of writing Made from Scratch, Finding Success Without a Recipe, I learned that I had to hold my own self accountable. And so it didn't matter who I told it to, God was watching me. And so when she asked me to make cupcakes, she wanted to give them to all of her clients. And I kind of looked at her like, so tell me about this deal you want to give me. Because in the back of my head, I don't even have money to buy ingredients. And she could see the perplexity in my face and says, when you give me some, I'll pay you some. And I said, okay, I'll do it. Shut the door, went inside, and I began to have a come to Jesus moment with God. Like, God, why would you give me this opportunity that I've been waiting for when I don't have any money to go buy ingredients? And I heard God say, but I feed birds who don't toil or store up in barns, and they don't look like me, but you do. So how much more will I do for you? And I put my shoes on. I walked to the store that was just a couple of blocks from our neighborhood. There's a Kroger. And I bought everything I could buy with that $5. And I flipped that 5 into 60 that very day. And I turned the 55, because I had to put the 5 back that I started with just in case something went wrong, and turned that into 600 by the end of the week. And I have been flipping that same money for the last 17 years.
Wow. That is just a story of, number one, taking a chance on yourself, following that word that you felt inside, right? And then just not giving up, because you could have said, all right, I got 600 now, but you realized that this was like your call. Like, and like I read a lot about like heroes and like the hero story, and it's like that call to action, right? So what made you, once you had that $600, realize, all right, I can't stop this. Like, this has to lead to something.
Because I was tired of being sick and tired. And what I realized is I could be sick or I could be tired, but I couldn't be both.
That is something there, right? I guess even like if we were to think about like the tangible things, what did you then have to realize? Did you realize, okay, this is just going to be a official business? Like, what was your mindset once you had that 600 and realizing, all right, we got to grow this? I know you said you had been listening to David Ramsey, so I'm thinking you were already in that mindset of, trying to build financial wealth, financial stability. So you must have known, like, this has to be, like, I got to do this right. Basically.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because when I was a kid, I always played business. Like, other girls play with Barbies, I play business. So I was always the manager. I was always the one in charge, because that's what I saw my mom doing. So I had been working since I was a kid. I had been working. I got my first job at 10, and it was filing in my mother's office, where she was the lead administrator. And she was in charge of all of the insurance sales people at her company where she worked. And so I would just go around looking for things that I could do. I don't know why I was always interested in earning money. I've always been aware that I needed to earn the things that I wanted to have. And so it has always been on the inside of me that I wanted to make my own. And so when I got that $600, I knew that I wanted to have more bake sales, not because $600 was enough, but that it opened an opportunity for me to be in control of my own narrative. And this is why I believe that entrepreneurship is freedom. It is freedom to be in control of your own labor and your own time, which is why I love what God has shown shown me in this process of writing this book over the last 2 years, because it took me 2 years to write my own story down, the story I was living every day,
That's
the story that I,
okay.
know like the back of my hand. But God showed me that this was a redeeming of time, that my ancestors, listen, let me just say, my father was born on a sugarcane plantation. I'll just let
Wow.
that sit there for a second.
So that means his mother,
Eldest,
his
his
forebearers were
enslaved
yeah.
people. His eldest sister grew up on that plantation. I don't know at which point my grandparents stopped being sharecroppers or if they ever got like truly free from that. But I did learn that my grandmother becomes a businesswoman.
Mm.
And so it's on the inside of me to be able to, to have free enterprise, but the people who came before me didn't have it available to them. And I truly believe that my generation as a collective is the first generation of African Americans who have full access to opportunity. So I can do things my parents couldn't do. And my parents stayed at the same company for 35 years and they shut their mouth and appreciated it, right? While they climbed the ladder. And while my mom was pissing people off as she climbed the ladder, being a Black woman in the South.
Yeah.
And so when I started the Cupcake Collection, it was a thing that you better not tell your grandmother because like we don't play at life. That was her thing. Like,
and that's how she would have viewed what you were doing?
Yeah. You stay at a company, you go earn your wage, you earn your 401k, you save for your family, you don't play at life. And so I had to keep the very fact that I was opening a business to myself. But in the midst of it all, God showed me that he was redeeming time through me in the fact that my father was born on a sugarcane plantation. My ancestors were enslaved on a sugarcane plantation, but God has allowed me to build wealth and create legacy in the same industry that enslaved my ancestors.
Mm.
So I believe it is up to me to now do this well so that those people's names who you don't know who came before me, you will experience them because you will know my name. And those were the things that God was saying to me when I was a child. I didn't necessarily want to be famous. I just knew that it was going to happen. Does that make sense?
Black culture feeds fashion, but fashion doesn't always feed Black creatives. I mean, only 7.3% of American fashion designers are Black. So McDonald's is pairing 5 rising Black designers with 5 fashion insiders for career-changing mentorships and the access they deserve. Because we can do better than 7.3. Together, we can change the face of fashion. Follow their journey on Instagram at WeAreGolden.
Statistics sourced from Zambia.com as of 2021.
It's time to get the world talking about Black-led brands. We all have our favorites, our ride or dies, and ones we can count on to help us live our best lives. But we can't keep them all to ourselves. So if you're feeling like a Black opal beauty, tell somebody. If the lip bar gives you a lip for every drip, let them know. And if your hair is doing the do, shout that out too, because one shout out leads to another, and almost half of Black-led brands are discovered by word of mouth. Join Walmart in shouting out your favorite Black-led products, creating a new world of choices at walmart.com/Black and Unlimited.
So that makes a lot of sense. And, as you were talking, I was even thinking it's kind of like when a curse becomes a gift, right? Like when the thing that was seen in a negative light, let's say that's sugar, right? Really became the sweetness. It was kind of like sugar was spice for the people before you, right? But now that sugar was what has made your life sweet.
Yeah.
When you built the business, what was your approach to how you were going to make it for you? How you were going to make it work for you? Was it like, okay, this is going to be something that I'm going to do from home. I'm going to build a team from early on? Because a lot of times we have these ideas, we have these dreams, we have these things that start to happen for us, but we don't know how to approach how to build it. So what was that like for you?
I never wanted any of those things you're talking about. Okay. I just wanted field trip money. I wanted to help my husband make ends meet, I wanted electricity.
Yeah.
I wanted to be in control of our dinner plate. I did not know that all this stuff was going to happen to me. But when I realized that I was set up for this to happen to me, I wanted to share it with everybody. I didn't want to just keep it to myself. I wanted to teach others. 'Cause listen, I'm a scientist first. And so I told you about the college party I wasn't ready for, right?
Yeah.
I had gone to Xavier University on scholarship. I was studying to be a doctor, and I couldn't apply the science to the body. So I was flunking out of my science classes, and then I get pregnant with a baby, and now I got to take care of this baby. So now I got to do something faster than being a doctor, right?
Yeah.
So I never knew the path that God was taking me on in building a business. But what I have learned is that every stupid thing that you've ever had to do is taking you from where you are to where it is that you want to be. And what I learned about science and business is that building a business is a lot like baking, and baking is science. And when I found the recipe that would work for me, I decided that I was going to get consistent with that thing. And I was going to be regimented about it, because I started looking at other successful people and saying, okay, what do they have that I want? I want their level of success. I want that kind of money. I want whatever they have. God, I want it too. And I heard God say, are you willing to do what they do to get what they have? Which let me know that work was going to be required of me. Because what you never heard them say was things like, oh, I regret the things that brought me here, or, oh, my life was so terrible. No, they looked for the lessons and the things that they had been through. They learned from them, and they used those things to make their craft. And what I'm learning in the process is that every business solves a problem. And I, as a mother, was always a teacher. And the problem that I wanted to solve was I wanted to get us out of debt. But I needed to solve a problem that was greater than a problem that just meant something to me. I had to solve a problem that meant something to the community. And what I realized as being a girl from New Orleans, there is always, and I do mean always, a reason to celebrate. And so I could bring the celebration to people in a way that made them feel seen. And in my little neighborhood where I was living, they could use a little hometown bakery, something where someone was making things for them that celebrated them, whether that meant that they were celebrating their divorce, or they were celebrating a promotion, or they needed to sit down and talk and have a therapy session over a slice of cake, or a cupcake that they could just sink their teeth into and feel like for just a moment, I needed to feel like I was in control of something that I decided to afford. And today, right now, all it can be is cupcakes. I could be there for that. And so what we began to learn is, hey, there's cupcake for that. Whatever is going on in your life, there is a cupcake for that.
I love that. And I think, the way you said it is there can be a very simple answer, right? Like you don't have to necessarily try to cure cancer, right? Like that doesn't have to be the thing that can help you put that dream into motion. It can be something so simple, something that comes easy to you and brings you joy and brings joy to others. And I think a lot of people are walking around with that thing that they don't even realize is a gift. That if they shared it with one person, two people, it could impact and change their life in ways they didn't even know, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So good.
I want to ask you this, right? As I'm thinking about this story that we're going on right now, is a little journey, right? And in every journey, there is a time when you have to make an exit, a time when there is an unforeseen road closure. There's something that comes along and just really either knocks you out the car, right? You're like, oh, wait, how did this happen? For you, Mignon, what was the thing along your journey that was a really, important challenge? And I say important because I think how you overcome it tells you a lot about yourself and where you're going. So what was that like for you?
I think one of the first challenges I had goes back to the electricity situation. So I was in my store. I had been wanting, oh, there's an even better one. I'm even back it up further than that. I think a
Okay.
lot of times people think that success happens overnight, and then all of a sudden they're seeing everybody, they're seeing a person all of the time. It's like, oh, have you seen that person? Oh, everybody's talking about that person, right? That success happens overnight, but it doesn't. Overnight success takes 10 years. And for me, I was working 2 years every day like it was a job before my business ever even opened. And remember, I'm saying I'm just trying to get filtered money. I'm just trying to keep the lights on.
And you were a mom, girl. I don't know how I'm struggling with one. And you said 7. I'm girl,
Yes.
how?
Yes. And the challenge is that I thought, oh, I'm going to put this bakery coming soon sign out that lets everybody know that I'm going to be opening up a business. And this business did not open soon. It took me 2 years to stick to it in order to do it. And that's what I want people to know. Like, you have to stick to something. And that is what God was telling me, to quitting, because I would always quit before, when things got a little tough. I would always quit before I could see success. And the thing that I learned in the process was I wasn't afraid to be successful. I wasn't afraid to fail. I was afraid to be successful, because with success comes, a requirement to show up when you don't feel like it, a requirement when you're tired to keep on showing up. And even as we were trying to figure out, where we're going to put this place, because I told you my neighbor knocked on my door.
Yeah.
So when I knew that I had a viable business, then it was, well, where are we going to put this business? And I had been looking all over the city for a place that I could afford to put the business. But if I can't afford electricity, how do I afford a place? And so even the very home that I was living in came back to serve me as the place where my bakery business was going to be. And it took me 2 years to find that out.
So is that where you opened up shop at home? Like you made your home was a storefront?
Yep, I opened up shop at home. We lived in this very interesting neighborhood that is a historical neighborhood that's zoned residential and commercial. So it was already set up for you to be able to have a little storefront in the front of your house if you so chose to do that. And that's the thing that I want people who are listening to understand. All that you have is all that you need to get you from where you are to where you want to be. So what did I say before? Every stupid thing that you've ever had to do or ever had to go through is taking you from where you are to where you want to be. Now I'm telling you, all you have is all you need to get you from where you are to where it is that you want to be. I remember when the health inspector came in to look around, because it had been some time, it had been 2 years. He was checking on us to see if we were ready to open, and he had come by, and my son had left his dorm size refrigerator at the house. He had painted it red. I was so mad at Dylan. He had painted this brand new dorm size refrigerator red because he wanted it to. I was like, why are you messing up this brand new refrigerator? And every stupid thing, right? There are no mistakes. And so when he left that refrigerator at home, he left it at home because he didn't need it. And so because he painted it, I couldn't return it back to the store. So when it was there, I started putting little ingredients in it in order to make things for the neighborhood and for anybody who was calling on me for orders. Well, on the day that the health inspector was coming just to see how I was progressing, if I needed anything to help me get open, he's looking around and he goes, "Is this the refrigerator that you're going to use to service your shop?" And I was like, "No, that's just a dorm size refrigerator." He said, "Does it keep temperature?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Can you fit your ingredients in it?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Even if you have to go to the store a couple of times, it'll keep temperature and it'll hold your ingredients. This is enough to get you open." I said, "Are you kidding me?" He said, "No."
And you didn't have a refrigerator before that. Like there was, if you hadn't had that one there, you wouldn't have had the right one that you needed.
Exactly.
Wow.
So I opened the store with a dorm size refrigerator and a KitchenAid mixer because that passed inspection. And all the while I had been waiting for something major to happen in order to start. And I think there's a statistic that says about 94% of Americans are waiting for some major event to happen in order for them to start living. Whether it is, for my children to graduate from high school, for me to get out of debt, for me to have a big enough savings, I'm waiting for something to happen in order to start living. But what I was telling you is I was waiting to get enough equipment. I was waiting to have all of the things in place. And the man came and said, stop waiting. All you have is all you need to start today. And so he gave me a passing score and told me, you can open your business whenever you're ready.
And did you?
I did. So it took us about, I believe it took us about a week. My husband came to me and he was just like, you're never gonna open if you don't just jump. So we're gonna open you up on Sunday. That was November the 9th of 2008. Our house was up for foreclosure sale. We knew the day that we were going to lose our house on the day that we opened up our store. My children stayed up all night painting and getting the little place ready. I didn't even have a case to display my things when I went to bed. But when I woke up in the morning, they had fixed up a little bakery shop for me. And I had a little cash box drawer. I didn't even have a cash register, but I had a calculator. And I could calculate taxes and things like that. And so we opened up the store with that dorm size refrigerator and a KitchenAid mixer and just a few hours of sleep. It was believing that if God is who he says he is, he can do what he says he can do.
And how long, what year was that again?
That was 2008.
All right. So
it was in the middle of a recession. Right? Because a recession is all around us, or that's at least what people are claiming. And so it's like, well, what am I going to do now? Because, banks are threatening to shut down and the economy is so bad. And what I'm saying is I opened up a business in the midst of an economic downturn. But all of the things that I was doing it debt-free. I was living on the inside of my means, and everything that was happening to me was happening for me, right? And so I don't want people to be afraid that, just because the world might seem to be feeling like it wants to go into crisis, that this may not be the very best time for you to answer a problem for your community. For the rest of the world, because somebody's always going to have some money.
Yeah.
And you're going to always have something that somebody needs and somebody wants to get from you. And this proved to be a good time for me to answer some of the problems that the world was in need of. And I'm saying to your audience right now, or somebody listening today, this may be the perfect time for you to look at the situation and say, what is it that I have inside of my house? Because that's what I did. I had nothing more than what was already on the inside of my house. I love sharing this story in Kings 4:17 about a widow who was losing everything that she had. Her husband had died and they were coming to take her children to pay off his debt as slaves. And so she goes to a prophet that her husband has been working for and says to him, they're going to take my children. And the prophet says to her, he doesn't give her an answer to her problem. He says to her, what do you have in your house? And that's what I'm saying to your listeners today. What do you have in your house that you can use to get you from where you are to where you want to be? And she says, all I have, remember, that's a phrase I've already told you. Mm-hmm. All I have is a little bit of oil. It doesn't matter how little or how much, all you have is. All you have is all you need to get you from where you are to where it is you want to be. And the other thing I learned from that story is stop calling what you have little. Stop speaking negatively against the things that you already have and what's already yours. Because if you own that thing and you stop talking about that thing in a negative way, you can find a way to use that thing to get you from where you are to where you want to be. And so instead of talking about it, the widow goes inside her house and she begins to follow the instructions of the prophet who tells her, okay, take that little bit that you have and go gather all of the jars that you can gather and go inside of your house and shut the door, which means stop telling people about what you're about to do because everybody can't handle what you're doing. And so her and her sons go on the inside and they start pouring this little bit that she says that she has. And when she says, bring me another jar, they filled up so many jars. There are no more jars in the entire town, which another lesson tells me it's according to your faith, it will happen for you. And so which leads me to, share with people another belief that I have is faith will perform for you like money. Had she only gotten 1 jar or 3 jars, she would have only had enough oil to fill those few jars. But because she got every jar that was available in the town, that oil kept flowing until all of the jars were filled. So the story goes that she goes out and tells the prophet, I filled all the jars that I could fill. There are no more in the town. And he says, okay, now go sell what you've made and go and pay off your debt and then live on the rest, which is how I governed my life. I used what I made to go pay off my debt, and then I lived on the rest, which is a money secret. I don't live beyond what I can make, and I live on the rest. Does that make sense?
Oh, that makes so much sense. You know what? I'm going to have to, you can't even see my face. I'm going to put, if I use this clip, I just want people to be able to see my reaction. Like, you just spoke some life into me, because even along my own journey, you said this early on in our conversation, you asked very good questions, right? Mm-hmm. And even I started this podcast 2016, and I've always wondered, like, why do people keep listening? Like, anyone could do this. But the fact that everyone I interview tells me you ask very good questions reminds me of, like, it's just that one thing that you have that will make the way for you if you continue to have that faith. And I just needed to hear that today, because I think a lot of us forget about that one little thing that we have, and we have the comparison game, right?
Yeah.
Social media, and you probably may know this within your own industry. There's so many other, like, food entrepreneurs, probably other cupcake bakeries out there.
Oh man, they were on every corner,
right? So it's like you really have to instill that faith within your dream and what you know you can accomplish, and kind of put on those blinders, because if you don't, then the thing can fall apart. The thing that's meant for you can. So it's just, I want to just say thank you for sharing that, Mignon. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for listening. What I have to say, Raina, is that God had told me in the beginning, I said, God, listen, I will do this thing if you will make me successful. If you will make me successful, I will tell anybody who can listen about what they can do if only they believe. And that's what writing this book was all about. It was about making me keep my promise to God, because while I would stop and at every interview and every interaction, I would say, well, what are you doing with that? Or what do you need from that? Or what do you believe, right? Because it's according to your faith. It will be for you. However much faith you put into that thing is how much you're going to be able to pull out on a return. And so writing this book was about keeping my promise to God, so that wherever you are, you can collide with me, whether that's in the middle of the night on the other side of the ocean, or whether you're 3 blocks down the street from me. I don't have to be booked and busy in order for you to get what you need and take what you need from my story. And the reason why I'm telling this story is not so that people can be all up in my business, but so they can be about theirs. And so the very fact that you're telling me that something about this has resonated with you is just another, like, okay, thank you, God. Thank you for sending Raina so that I could keep my promise to you, and for all the other people who are going to listen to her show, so I can keep my promise to you, that if you would let me, I would tell them about what they could do if they believe. And so that's why I want them to pick up the book. I'll remind them it's called Made from Scratch, Finding Success Without a Recipe. Because sometimes people think that in order to bake a good cake or make a good meal, you got to have a recipe. And sometimes all you have to do is go with God.
Even with baking, because, girl, I tried baking and it never worked for me.
It's a science. And what I learned in my kitchen is that, so this science that they were teaching me in college, That's what this is? So you mean to tell me if I do this with that, I can make it react like this? This is a conversation I'm having in my head. 17 years after I walked up off of Xavier's campus, that I'm in my kitchen just looking at the stuff saying, okay, what am I? Oh, that's what they meant. Oh man, I had always believed I was going to end up in Nashville on Jefferson Street at Meharry Medical College because I wanted to be a surgeon. I wanted to be a doctor.
Yeah.
But guess what? I ended up in Nashville, in North Nashville, just off of Jefferson Street in a bakery business. And the thing about it is that I wanted to be a healer, and I am one. I'm just not doing it with traditional medicine. I'm showing people how they can heal their generational, wealth gaps, close those generational wealth gaps and create legacies for their family that effect healing for generations to come. But I didn't get to do that by going to Meharry on Jefferson Street. I get to do it every day walking into the Cupcake Collection just one block off of Jefferson Street on 6th Avenue North in North Nashville.
Now I'm going to do a clap for that, Mignon. Okay, so I know we didn't really get to spend a lot of time on just...
I've left it to a legacy of the children that are coming behind me.
I just love that. There's one thing I want to return to before you tell us your keys to success and we close this out, Mignon. But you mentioned earlier that, you weren't always a confident child and that self-esteem wasn't there, right? But there was a moment for you where that changed. Mm-hmm. Would you say now that self-esteem is there? And just how has really growing into that confidence changed your life?
Yeah. Growing into that confidence changed my life because I stopped looking at people thinking that they were looking at me thinking, what is she doing here? Why did she wear that? Because I always was different and I always wanted to enter a room loudly, and whether that be in the colors that I was wearing or however big I could make my afro or however, blonde my braids might be, right? I always wanted to enter a room loudly. Now I understand that people are looking at me because I have something that they like. It's something on the inside of me that they see that's winning and they're attracted to that thing. And so I needed to become confident in who I was and who I was called to be in order to walk into these rooms and not shrink back. And so now I'm walking into the rooms headlining them. I'm walking into rooms as the keynote speaker, whereas before I used to sit back and shrink back and wish that the things on the inside of my heart and the things that were coming into my head and the answers that I had, I used to feel like they were stupid, but then I would always have these like, oh, I did have the right answer all along. And that's what I want somebody who might be feeling like it's too late for me. I was 33 when this business opened. I worked for 2 years like it was a job before I ever even opened the doors. And statistics say that people who start businesses in their 30s to 40s are statistically more successful than people who start businesses in their early 20s. Why? Because they have more experience, they have more connections, and they have been through more of life. They really know who they are and what it is that they offer to the world. So for that 30-something that's believing that it's too late for them and they've been left behind, it's like, what do I have to give? And the rest of the world is making it, and I'm not. I want them to be encouraged to know that it is not too late for them. And I am an example of what economic insecurity looks like. And I'm also the same face that is the picture of a woman who dug herself out of debt and drowning in brokenness and despair to be sitting here today to tell you that you can also do it.
Thank you so much, Mignon. This has just been such a powerful testimony to what it means to believe, to have that faith that you can put that dream into motion. Tell our listeners where they can get your book. By the time this airs, your book will be ready to go live. Tell us where we can get your book, where they can connect with you, where they can get a cupcake if they live in Tennessee or New Orleans. So let us know.
Yes, they can find me on Instagram at Mignon.Francois or the Cupcake Collection at thecupcakecollection.com. We're also the Cupcake Collection on all social media. So that's on Facebook and on Instagram, and on Twitter, we are at Cupcake Tweets. The book
do you guys
is
ship?
available on Amazon.com.
Okay, wait, do you guys ship cupcakes?
And we ship cupcakes nationwide. Oh my gosh.
Yes, well, I'm going to have to put in an order for a cupcake, girl.
Yes, honey. Yes, honey. We ship cupcakes nationwide through our FedEx partners.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mignon. This was just such a fabulous time hearing your dream driving journey. I hope our listeners enjoyed it just as much as I have. All right, so that's the wrap for this episode of Dreams and Drive. I hope you enjoyed our guest's dream driving journey as well as listening to their keys to success. If you love this episode, you know what to do. Please make sure that you are following us. We are at Dreams and Drive across social media on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. So make sure you're sharing this episode, posting it to your Instagram stories, texting it to a friend, sharing on LinkedIn, wherever you are or online. Just pay this forward and share this with somebody. We really appreciate it. And all the sharing that you do helps us grow our community. If you want to join our email newsletter, The Keys, and get weekly updates delivered to your inbox, just go to dreamsanddrive.com/join. That's dreamsanddrive.com/join. And lastly, if you know somebody who would be great for this show, or if you are someone who would be great for this show, please go to dreamsanddrive.com/pitch. I'm always accepting new guests. I'm always accepting new pitches. So I love to see those pitch requests coming in. Keep dreaming, keep driving, and we'll chat again in the next episode. Bye, guys.